Hey, do you mind actually coming here? Because I'll show you something in real life. This is non-technical or like less technical, and I'm actually happy that you came more from a curiosity background. Yeah, just sit here. Because my background is more in product and UX. I do understand and I have been building applications, but this is more focused on kind of like the experience side. So yeah. Oh, closer. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so what made you curious about Web3 in the first place? Or how did you get into it?
To be honest, I first found a roadmap about blockchain, and it started out with a series of articles of why it's important. And for many industries, I think it can be the next step to ensure security, even I don't know, privacy, low cost
Cool.
answers. And so,
Right.
on a very big note, this is why.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I think that's, at least in my experience, that's very similar. I think a lot of people who have been in Web3 are around because they see the potential in this, like, I would call it kind of magical technology, because the potential is to actually transform society into something different. But it's kind of hard to see why we're barely scratching the surface of making the most out of it or using it actually wisely. So yeah, my presentation or like the slides are mostly about what I mean by magic based on the history of magic, why most of tech is not used in that same way, at least for now. And also I want to kind of elaborate on what I learned from UX and product design and the history of magic to create like transformative applications and use the technology that we have in order to create a world that we haven't been before. Hey man, good to see you. So before I go into that, I wanted to just define the term magic. If you ask a lot of men about what they think that magic is, they mostly would say like, oh, it's a magic trick. And actually, let me let me show you something. Do you mind helping me with the microphone? Because I might. Okay, thanks so much, man. Thank you for being so interactive. This is hopefully the future of presentations.
Wait, are you going to perform a magic trick for us?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
I think, so the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you what it feels like, the comparison between magic tricks and magic experiences. So here's something that I would consider a magic trick. So you have the ace here. Could you just tap on anyone from the middle? That one? Okay. Yeah. I just hold it back, or like, could you, or like, yeah, did you have a look at it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Remember it? Does anyone else see it? Do you have it? Okay, cool. Could you actually keep your finger extended, like your what is it, right forefinger? Just your index finger extended? Yeah, right. And push it in, like fully push it in. Okay, cool. Now, this is, watch the ace. What was the card again? Could you say it? Or you didn't say it, right? Could you say it out loud for everybody?
The King of Hearts.
The King of Hearts. Watch the ace. Yay! Okay, so this is what I would consider a magic trick. Like it's a very short moment of delight, but it's also kind of like followed by a sense of like, oh, that was a trick, and I must have done a move. Maybe you saw like the something that I've done with the cards, and I think that most of and you kind of like just carry on with your life. And I think that most technology is kind of used in that same way. And by technology, I don't just mean like, you know, apps or computers, but it's kind of blending further how we use technical infrastructure also like for organizations, or organizations kind of trick us into believing that we should be wealthy and rich if we keep increasing our salary, and they make it super easy to be unkind to each other and isolate us. So it's kind of like a little bit of a trick. Or educational systems, they reward us for staying in the system and kind of like trick us into believing that we can be smart and wise and influence others if we just collect the right certificates. And obviously products that kind of try to pretend that we can live forever and happy and healthy if we keep using them or keep engaging with them. And it's, I think, a kind of techno-utopia that is completely frictionless, but actually dehumanizing society and removes the things that make us feel good in the long run and transform us into a better place. And it's different from the actual history of magic before society and the rise of the technosphere, which was more a symbol for predicting the future and controlling nature, and it involved the entire society into kind of like restoring the social relationships and the whole community. So this is a picture from a childbirth in Thailand where the child was not meant to survive, and then the whole village came together and they like healed them. And then now the child is like in the mid-20s, and that was a magical experience because it involved everybody in like restoring the connections between each other and healing the actual person. So let me attempt to show you something similar with playing cards. That would be great. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, okay, I can try it with you now. Okay, great. Could you just point to any one of the face-up ones? The ace of diamonds, is that okay? Okay, cool. Just leave it here. Could you actually extend your hand, maybe you, and just push it inside. Cool. So you know it's in the middle, and just take the deck so I don't touch it. Put it on your hand. Okay, square it up so it's like it's not showing anywhere. You're left-handed, right? Or right-handed. Can I have your left hand? Just turn it face down. Right here. Okay. Could you take a deep breath in? Okay. And as you exhale, think about a moment when you thought of something and it turned into reality, like a moment of serendipity, or when you thought of a person and then they called you up or sent you a message, or when you felt like you're alone and then someone actually like reached out to you and you felt better. Could you just think of that? Okay, cool. Now, in a moment, the inevitable will happen. You will find your card. Whenever you're ready, in your own time, I just wanted to let down your hand and just lift up approximately half of the deck, maybe a little bit less. What was it? What was the card that you had? Was that yours? The ace of diamonds. Okay, so thank you. Could you actually give them a mix, please? Just mix them up a little bit. We might need them later. Yeah, so this is a different sensation, right? So this felt different from the trick that I showed before, like everything was in your control. And also we all just witnessed that experience together. So like most likely, and with most magical moments, people don't forget that for the rest of their lives, or have some new ideas or a new perspective on things. And these things are like truly connected. So okay, so basically, yeah. Sorry
to interrupt this stupid comment, but I kind of have like goosebumps from this experience. So I kind of can relate to it. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. He actually did it. I just want to add that it's like a very magical experience.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And for you probably as well, right? Like you witnessed something and you had a kind of somatic experience, right? Okay. So my point is that most of technology is mostly used to show us tricks rather than creating what is kind of like historically called a magical experience. And we've been here before, like I've spoken about card tricks. Playing cards used to be hand-drawn, and the drawings on the cards used to make people tell stories about each other. The imperfection of these drawings made people recognize archetypes and connected them. And that's the reason why playing cards actually started surviving, or like survived for a certain amount of time. And only later, the printing press came out in the 1500s and made it very easy to influence an individual artistic style. The human part slowly drifted away, and then we had a lot of like gambling, and people learned sleight of hand skills in order to cheat to each other. Some people started casinos, and then others used their sleight of hand skills in order to create magical effects again and tell stories about each other. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that. And they ended up influencing they ended up influencing performance arts and film and movie history. These are all technologies that are used to create this like unique experience. I don't know if you know this I think Eisenstein was one of the directors who filmed like a train and a boat. Okay, doesn't matter. But in the early days, film was also very, very like captivating and a very intense experience. And I know you haven't been in Web3 for a long time, but like those of you who have been in Web3 for a long time might recognize the pattern. We have been first like playing around with things, and then spiritual influence came into solar punk ideas that were all over Twitter, and then everything slowly turned into a massive casino. And then there are still a few people and a few teams that are usually self-funded, but they're working on this kind of transformative experiences and technology that is supposed to keep us together and use blockchain infrastructure and AI in order to maintain our society and keep it coherent. And I think that is basically like what I would consider a magical experience, just to get back to why we're all here and talking about magic. It's essentially just using some technology that we're making completely invisible in order to predict or control the future, but as a consequence to kind of reconnect and restore our society with a few principles. And so like, for the last couple of minutes, I'm just gonna walk you through the patterns, or like there's basically 4 things that I found, or like that I wanted to synthesize based on these kind of patterns that come across in magic or in history of magic, but also in technology or within these experiences that teams design that use Web3 in particular to build more like socio-technical systems that keep humans together at a global scale. So in one of them is having a very granular vision of the future, hiding the method and technology. So method is more like a magic term. Technology is like, you can imagine what that is. And the same goes for like a simple effect or experience. The experience can be an app or like a real world experience or like a trick or something. And then also very important is a value-aligned process and organizational structure, because without all of these things, it's not going to work. So I'll try to walk through these as quickly as possible, but these are really like the things that stand out to me, at least in my experience as a designer and ex-magician or something, the most. This is Darren Brown, and one of the things he said about kind of the vision or creating transformative experiences is that we're doing something really serious and not solemn. We're taking people to the edge of their understanding. We're showing them the abyss, and then we're showing them what's there, and then slowly pulling them back into the place. And the abyss is not just like a simple one-off mission statement. Usually they're used like for branding. But the way I would look at it is more like a complex and constantly evolving narrative and a story of the future that you would like to see. So I was working with a really nice team from D-Logos. They're building like infrastructure for creative discourse or like for constructive discourse. And they have a really refined way of articulating what they want the world to look like. And then because they wrote it all down, they know how that impacts every single kind of area of work that they're engaging in. So I know you're kind of like mostly in the engineering part, but like a lot of the things that you'll be talking about when you're building applications are like maybe market focused. You have to run certain experiments in order to validate your thing. Building certain smaller products, which are the actual experiences. And so by having that vision, the whole idea of your optimistic future will shine through in every single aspect, like also hiring processes, also sales processes, also community, etc. And that will make it a lot more easy for people to relate to it. The next thing, and probably one of the reasons why we don't have the next billion users in Web3 yet, is because we're running incomplete experiments and use technical jargon, and that's okay. Like as magicians, like I constantly fail, I make mistakes, and you probably also know that when you like write code or like create an application, it's like shit, doesn't work or like doesn't compile. And it's like with a computer, that's easy to see on the screen, and with people, it's the same thing. It's just like, oh damn, they saw my move, or like they didn't experience the right thing. This is, by the way, also from a friend of mine, BitNote. I recommend checking out just the application itself, because he's really Rockwell is really good at simplifying the effect and the experience, so that the technology doesn't actually matter. Like, yes, your information is encrypted, but like how it's encrypted, that you have to like how you're paying for it, it's for the most part almost completely abstracted. Also, if you're interested in digging into magic literature, also a very, very famous book from a famous magician called Juan Tamariz. He describes basically this magic way that you're walking at, and every time someone spots you or spots a move or asks about your technology, this is how it relates to like engineering. It's just like, oh, does that use AI? Is that a DAO? Is that like, I don't know, does that have a token? It's like, anytime people say that, you're like, okay, maybe I should go back to the drawing board because I'm like misleading them into some other place that is gonna be more confusing, and I want them to experience this thing. And those people who do realize what you're building, or like, you know, they realize, oh, you're using AI, you're using LLM, or like, oh, you're using the Ethereum blockchain, they can be part of your community and they can contribute to building it. They're probably not gonna be like the best users because they already seen how it works, but they're the ones who will help you achieve the dream scenario and like look into the abyss. Okay, this is actually like a good example maybe for just how it looks in practice. So when you design things, this is like a tool we designed a long time ago for Liquidity, and this was before we user tested it. We just showed it to people and we're just like, hey, do you understand this? Like, what do you get out of this? And just after a few conversations, this was a lending platform. So I'm not gonna go into super high details on this, but essentially just from a few conversations, it was clear that they couldn't really focus on where to click and where to borrow. They weren't really clear on like what these benefits should be. And then like it made it very easy to kind of simplify it. Obviously, this is just the first step, but like as you go through the cycle, it gets more and more refined, and the method and like the technology gets abstracted away more and more. Obviously, this is still DeFi, and there's still a lot of like potential for other applications. But yeah. Okay, then the effect. The effect is essentially your ability, or like your option to give your spectators and users a glimpse into the abyss, and it's pretty narrow. So like, of course, it's often tempting to have your complex vision and a lot of features and show people everything. But this is, for example, also used to be a platform for DAO coordination, a lot of different features, and you had to like coordinate work. And the founder essentially through a lot of different mechanisms figured out that people don't actually care about a lot of the parts and it's only unique to his thing. So he simplified the whole experience to just his kind of legal infrastructure of offboarding people and getting paid in any currency. And now this is the product, but like the vision and the whole like idea of his world is much more complex. Actually, yeah, I might show you something else in a second. I'm running out of time. Yeah, and oh yeah, there's one more thing. I think what might be interesting for you as you're kind of like playing around and wondering how you can use technology, it's very easy to forget what we can actually do with that technology. So like, a good friend of mine brought up an idea of like, well, if you have a to-do list, of course you can look at it as like, yeah, we're gonna make people check off the check marks and give them a cool experience by having a blip sound and like a whatever checkbox animation. But the reality is also that as like the creators of that technology, we have the power of showing people, making people think a thought and then turn that into reality. And I think that framing is like way more powerful. So for example, also with Web3 tech, if you, like in DeFi, of course, you can offer people a certain percentage on their returns. And that's one way of convincing them or like persuading them of the benefit of a platform. But a much more powerful thing is like, oh wait, you make people feel safe with their assets. So it's like, it's just a different experience that you're designing for. Or with encryption, like if you encrypt data, rather than thinking about it as like, oh, you're gonna make someone feel private with their data, it's like, okay, fine. But what if we actually frame it into like, how do we use that technology in order to make people trust each other, even if they have never met? And so the whole story becomes different. And I think that's where a lot of the kind of abilities and power comes in what we do as creators, because we can use that technology in order to create completely different social experiences. If you've known or if you've read the user journey process from design thinking, That's a really good starting point, by the way. So like, just think step by step of like, what do you want people to experience? And then figure out like, what is the thing that you want to create? And then you can see, oh, does that actually use AI? Or do I need like some blockchain tech? In many cases, you don't need like the most complicated tech, but then you can focus on the actual experience. Okay, and lastly, none of this is going to work if we don't have organizational processes that are value aligned. Like, of course, it's easier to earn faster to build up a profitable organization, but if you work with other people and they feel like they can be free and work on whatever they want and wherever they want and live healthy and social lives, then the products that they'll create will reflect that and will make their users feel like they're free and live healthy and social lives. David Blaine is like famous for taking his time over years and like pushing his boundaries. I'm almost done. Okay. Pushing his boundaries over years and creating these crazy stunts, because he's also curating some of the best magicians in the world and works with them. There's an example in, does that still work? Oh yeah. There are a lot of examples of like communities, like this is IKEA DAO. They are really, really good at, or IKEA Collective, sorry. They're really, really good at curating people in their Discord and online community and like keeping them up to date. And as a consequence of having this like curated group of people, they create really cool products like tea houses, or now they're building an unmanned shop in Japan. And these are the things that we can use like Web3 tech for as well, to save reputation, make people trust each other, understand who's really good at stuff, collaborate, write down certain kind of like roles and responsibilities and solve these kinds of problems. Yeah. Where is it? Ah, here, okay. And yeah, and that's like, these are a few ideas just for how to use tech in order to solve real world problems. So like, when you think about collaboration, well, you can figure out what's the value and use stable coins to pay people in real time for their worth, for the value of their work. Or on-chain reputation to make people feel more confident in their abilities, or obviously encryption to make sure that conflicts and discussions make sense and are constructive rather than destructive. So yeah, long story short, when you go back to your place and work on things, remember the moments when working together felt like you have fun with your friends, or when you make someone light up in the light and pushed your boundaries to do something that you thought was actually impossible, because these are the magical moments that actually transform us all together. And if you have some ideas also, let me know. I would love to talk about them. I love playing around with technology and the applications and making them, making real world problems more easy to solve with the tech that you have from that kind of perspective. And yeah, let's create cool, magical stuff together. Do you want to see another thing? I don't have much time, right? Or do you have some questions?
Yeah, do you guys have any questions? You can show us another trick if you want to, but let's just go for one question.
Thank you. I just want to say that I really like the talk. And the one question I have is, how can I get better at designing the perfect experience for the user in my app? Like, what other recommendations do you have? Where to go to study? Maybe a book, maybe a course, maybe in your experience, what do you think I can do?
Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that, and I wish more people would ask that. So definitely look up just the design thinking process for user journeys, or like an experience map. I think the easiest way to look at it is that it's just practice, but obviously you want to know what to practice. And I personally like, I don't like referring to like books. If you want to, like The Magic Way is a good one, just to kind of have a mindset, because it's more theoretical, but it's very applicable to like product design and creation. And I think I'm also happy to share with you a write-up that I did for like specifically that process that you kind of like go through the loop. So essentially the first step is to decide on what's your idea. So what do you want to kind of like explore? What's the goal you want people to, or like what's the thing you want people to experience? Then the kind of experience map where you map out step by step, like where do you pick them up? Where are they right now? This is important because a lot of tech is not really picking people up where they are. So kind of like make an assumption of where people are and guide them along the journey of like, let's say, I don't know, if you have like a to-do list app or something. It's like very basic example, but you're like, oh, someone wants to write down something. Then like, okay, they write it down. Then they like, I don't know, put their phone away, and then they get a notification or something, they get a reminder. So that's kind of like the process. And then you think about what technologies and skills you have in order to make each step possible. So the first thing is really just to map out the experience and think about like what would be impossible, what would feel like a cool wow moment, and then think about what technologies you can use in order to make that possible. And so both things also require a little bit of like just curiosity. So like, what are the cool things you want to see in the world? Like what feels impossible to you? And then what technologies do you have access to? Or like what things do you pick up on here that drive your curiosity where like, oh, this is a cool framework, or like this is a cool application that I saw, and then I can kind of like put that into the actual kind of technological implementation of it. And so then you build a prototype and do that fast. Like you don't need to spend like months on it. You just need a day or two, and just directly show it to someone and let them experience it. Like these card tricks that I showed, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I've been repeating them like many, many times, and I just showed them to people. And then every time something comes back, and you go back and refine it. Is that helpful, more or less?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. Thanks for the magic tricks and the presentation.
Thank you.